The small ship drifted through the cold darkness of space like a broken toy. Its metal hull had ugly black marks where enemy weapons had hit it. Inside the ship, Captain Thylan pressed her webbed hand against a bleeding cut on her blue-green forehead. Her large eyes looked worried as she stared at the damage reports on her screen. "How bad is it?" she asked her crew. Engineer Zeph looked up from his repair station. His amphibious skin was pale with fear. "The main engines are dead. Life support is failing. We have maybe 3 days of air left." Thylan felt her heart sink. Her people were scientists, not fighters. They had been studying strange energy patterns near this star system when the attack came. The Krex warships had appeared without warning, firing their terrible weapons. The Valorans had no shields, no guns to fight back with. They could only run, but they had not run fast enough. "Captain," called Communications Officer Vex from across the small bridge. "Should I send a distress signal?" Thylan thought about this. Her people had never met other alien species before the Krex found them. The Krex were evil beings who captured other races to use as slaves. They destroyed worlds just because they could. If the Krex were the only aliens out there, then sending a signal would just bring more enemies. But what choice did they have? "Send the signal," she said quietly. "Send it on all frequencies. Maybe someone good will hear it." Vex worked at his station, his thin fingers moving over the controls. "What should I say?" "Tell them who we are. Tell them where we are. Tell them we need help." The signal went out into space, traveling faster than light through the quantum networks that connected the galaxy. It carried a simple message. Peaceful scientists were dying, and they needed rescue. Far away, on a small moon orbiting the third planet of a yellow star, Admiral Coday was drinking coffee and reading reports. He worked at Luna Station, Earth's most important space facility. His job was to watch for signals from deep space and listen for anything unusual. When the alien message arrived, every computer in the station started beeping at once. Coday put down his coffee cup and ran to the main control room. The big screen showed wave patterns and strange symbols that the computers were trying to understand. "What is it?" he asked the night shift operator. "It's definitely artificial, sir. Not natural space noise. The mathematics are clear. Someone is asking for help." Coday stared at the patterns on the screen. Humanity had been alone in the galaxy for so long. They had built ships and explored nearby star systems, but never found other intelligent life. Now, suddenly, someone was calling for help. The translation computers worked for hours, breaking down the alien language piece by piece. Finally, a message appeared on the screen in simple English. "We are Valorans, peaceful researchers, ship damaged by Krex attackers, located at coordinates 234.7 by 891.2 by 445.9. Life support failing. Please help any who receive this message. We do not want to die." Coday read the message 3 times. Then he picked up his secure communication device and called Earth. President Park High was sleeping when her phone rang. She looked at the clock. It was 3 in the morning. Only the most important emergencies would wake her at this hour. "Madam President," said Coday's voice through the phone. "We have a situation. We've received a distress signal from aliens." Park High sat up in bed, suddenly very awake. "Say that again." "Aliens, Madam President. They call themselves Valorans. Their ship is damaged and they're asking for help. They say someone called the Krex attacked them." Park High was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "How long do we have?" "Based on their message, maybe 3 days before their life support fails." "And where are they?" "About 2 days' travel at maximum speed with our fastest ships." Park High got out of bed and started getting dressed. "Admiral, I want you to prepare our fleet. All of it." "All of it, Madam President? That's over 300 ships." "Yes, all of it. If we're meeting aliens for the first time, I want them to know what kind of people we are. We don't leave anyone behind. We don't ignore calls for help. Get every ship we have and go save those people." Coday smiled. This was why he respected his president. "Yes, ma'am, I'll start the orders immediately." Within 1 hour, emergency signals went out to every human military base in the solar system. Ship crews were called back from leave. Captains were given emergency orders. Supply ships loaded food, medical equipment, and repair materials. The message was simple. Unknown aliens were in trouble, and humanity was going to help them. On the damaged Valoran ship, Thylin watched her crew work to keep their ship alive for as long as possible. They had sent their distress signal hours ago, but had received no answer. Space was big and empty. Maybe no one would hear them. Maybe they would die alone in the dark. She did not know that 300 human warships were already moving toward her location at maximum speed. She did not know that an entire species had decided to risk everything to save people they had never met. She did not know that her distress signal had reached the most stubborn, most protective, most dangerously helpful species in the galaxy. Humans never ignored a call for help. It was not in their nature. They would cross any distance, fight any enemy, pay any price to help someone in need. The Valorans were about to learn what it meant to have humans as friends, and the Kreks were about to learn what it meant to have humans as enemies. 6 hours after the alien distress signal reached Earth, the largest fleet in human history was moving through space toward the unknown. Admiral Ko-Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, Sol's Vengeance, watching hundreds of ships arrange, themselves in perfect formation around him. The massive dreadnought was humanity's most powerful warship. Its hull was covered with kinetic cannons that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. Plasma weapons lined its sides like the teeth of some ancient monster. Ko-Day had served on this ship for 10 years, but he had never taken it into a situation like this. "Admiral," called Captain Yun-Tae over the communication system. "Fast attack squadron is ready. All ships report green status." Ko-Day looked at the tactical display. Yun-Tae commanded 12 of humanity's quickest ships, including his flagship, Busan Rising. These vessels were built for speed and surprise attacks. They could move faster than anything else in the human fleet. "Good, Captain. Stay close and be ready for anything." On another part of the formation, Commander Na Young was checking her marine assault ships. These vessels carried thousands of human soldiers trained for fighting in space and on alien worlds. Na Young had spent her career preparing for wars that might never come. Now she wondered if all that training would be needed. "All Marine divisions, ready for deployment," she reported. "We have medical teams, engineers, and combat units prepared for any situation." Cody nodded. He hoped they would only need the medical teams and engineers, but experience had taught him to prepare for the worst. In the science section of Sol's Vengeance, Dr. Lee Baum was working frantically to understand what they were flying toward. She was humanity's best expert on theoretical alien biology, though until today it had all been just theory. "The Valorans appear to be amphibious," she told Ko-Day during a briefing. "Based on their signal patterns, they probably evolved from water-dwelling creatures. They seem to be peaceful. Their distress call contained no military terminology at all." "And these Kreks who attacked them?" Dr. Lee Baum's expression grew dark. "The intercepted communications we've picked up suggest they're a militaristic species. They seem to attack other races for conquest and slavery. From what I can tell, they view peaceful species as easy targets." Ko-Day felt anger growing in his chest. Bullies. The galaxy's first aliens turned out to be bullies who picked on peaceful scientists. "How long until we reach the coordinates?" 36 hours at current speed," replied his navigation officer. Meanwhile, in the Kreks fleet, Fleet General Vorthak was planning his return to the Valoran research ship. He commanded 50 warships, a massive force designed to intimidate any opposition. The Kreks had used similar fleets to conquer dozens of species over the centuries. Vorthak's reptilian features showed satisfaction as he studied the tactical reports. The Valoran ship had been easy to disable. Now they would return to collect the survivors for the slave markets. Valorans were amphibious, which made them valuable workers for underwater mining operations. "How long until we reach the target?" he asked his bridge crew. 2 days, Fleet General," replied his weapons officer. "Excellent. The Valorans will have just enough time to despair before we arrive." Vorthak did not know that his easy target was now protected by the most dangerous species in the galaxy. He did not know that 300 human warships were racing toward the same coordinates. He had never heard of humans, Deathworlders, or Earth. He was about to receive a very painful education. Back on the damaged Velaran ship, Engineer Zeph was working miracles to keep their systems running. He had rerouted power from non-essential systems and jury-rigged repairs that should have been impossible, but even his best efforts could only buy them time. "How much longer?" asked Captain Thylan. "Maybe 40 hours if we're lucky," Zeph replied, wiping sweat from his scaled forehead. "After that, the air recyclers will fail completely." Thylan looked around at her crew. They were all good people, scientists and explorers who had dedicated their lives to learning about the universe. They did not deserve to die like this, alone and afraid in the dark. "Keep working," she told them. Someone might still hear our signal. What she did not know was that someone already had heard it. At that very moment, human technicians were analyzing every detail of her ship's construction, trying to figure out how to dock with it safely. Human doctors were learning about Valoran biology so they could provide medical care. Human engineers were preparing tools to repair damage they had never seen before. On Sol's Vengeance, Koday called a meeting of his senior officers. The main briefing room was filled with humans who had trained their entire careers for deep space operations, but none of them had ever imagined a scenario like this. "We're going into a first contact situation," Koday began. "These Valorans are peaceful scientists who have never encountered humans before. They're frightened, injured, and dying. Our first priority is their safety and medical care." Yunte raised his hand. "What about these Kreks, Admiral? Our intercepts suggest they're planning to return. If they show up, we'll deal with them. But remember, we're there to rescue people, not start a war." Commander Na Young spoke up. "Sir, with respect, if someone attacks helpless scientists, they've already started the war." Koday looked around the room and saw the same expression on every face. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting bullies and protecting the innocent. It was bred into their bones, written in their DNA by millions of years of evolution on a dangerous world. "You're right, Commander. If the Kreks want to fight, they'll get one they'll never forget." The meeting broke up with everyone understanding their roles. They would save the Valorans no matter what it cost, and if anyone tried to stop them, they would learn why humans were called Deathworlders. As the human fleet raced through hyperspace, automated systems monitored everything within light years of their destination. They detected energy signatures, analyzed ship movements, and prepared tactical assessments. One day out from the coordinates, they picked up new signals. A large fleet was moving toward the same location from a different direction. The ship designs were unknown, but the weapon signatures were clearly military. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "we have contacts. 50 ships, heavy weapons, approaching the Valoran position." Koday studied the tactical display. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. These had to be the Kreks returning to finish what they started. "How long until they reach the coordinates?" "About the same time we do, sir. Maybe 6 hours difference." Day smiled grimly. "Perfect." The Kreks expected to find one damaged research vessel. Instead, they would find the combined might of humanity waiting for them. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "All ships prepare for combat operations. We're going to show these bullies what happens when they pick on innocent people." The message went out across the human formation. 300 warships began checking their weapons, loading their ammunition, and preparing for the fight of their lives. The Valorans had called for help. Humanity had answered. And now the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. When the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the Valoran coordinates, the sight took everyone's breath away. 300 ships spread across space like a steel constellation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the nearby star. From tiny fighters to massive dreadnoughts, every vessel humanity could spare had come to answer one small distress call. Admiral Koday stood on the bridge of Sol's Vengeance and looked at the tactical display. There, exactly where the coordinates indicated, was a small research vessel drifting helplessly through space. Scorch marks covered its hull where energy weapons had struck it. "My God," whispered his communications officer. "It's so small." The Velaran ship was barely the size of a human destroyer. Compared to the massive fleet that had come to rescue it, the vessel looked like a child's toy. "Open a channel," Code ordered. "All frequencies, full translation protocol." On the damaged research ship, Captain Thylan was trying to keep her crew calm when every alarm on the bridge started screaming at once. Vex looked up from his communications station with wide, terrified eyes. "Captain, there are ships everywhere. Hundreds of them." Thylan felt her heart's racing. Had the Krex returned early with a larger fleet? She looked at the sensor readings and gasped. These were not Krex ships. The designs were completely unknown, angular, aggressive, but somehow different from Krex warships. "Are they hostile?" she asked. Before Vex could answer, his station lit up with an incoming message. The translation computer worked for several seconds, then produced words in the Valoran language. "This is Admiral Code of the Human Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. You are now under our protection. Please respond if you can. Hear this message." Thylan stared at the translated words. Humans? She had never heard of this species, but they said they were here to help. "Open a channel," she ordered, her voice shaking with hope and fear. "This is Captain Thylan of the research vessel Harmony's Echo. We are dying. Our life support is failing. Can you really help us?" The response came immediately. "Yes, Captain Thylan. We can help you. We are preparing to dock with your vessel and evacuate your crew to safety. How many of you are there?" 12 survivors, Thylan replied. "But please, be careful. The beings who attacked us, the Krex, they may return." There was a pause. Then the human admiral's voice came back with what sounded almost like amusement. "Let us worry about the Krex, Captain. Right now, we need to get you and your people to safety." Within minutes, human ships were moving into position around the damaged Valoran vessel. Commander Park Jin led the boarding teams, carefully matching his ship's airlock to the research vessel's emergency port. "Remember," he told his team, "these are peaceful scientists who have never met humans before. Move slowly, speak softly, and let them see that we're here to help." When the airlock opened, Park Jin got his first look at an alien being. Captain Thylan was smaller than he expected, with blue-green skin that looked smooth and wet. Her large eyes showed intelligence and desperate hope. "You really came," she whispered in her translated voice. "We sent our signal into empty space, and you really came." "Of course we came," Park Jin replied gently. "You called for help. That's all we needed to know." The evacuation went smoothly. Human medical teams, led by Dr. Kim Sol, had prepared emergency treatment areas for alien physiology. They had never treated amphibious beings before, but human medicine was adaptable. Within hours, injured Velerans were receiving care aboard human medical ships. Dr. Lee Baum worked directly with Captain Thylan, conducting humanity's first real alien contact. She was amazed by how similar their thought processes were, despite their completely different evolution. "Your people came all this way to save strangers," Thylan said as Dr. Lee Baum checked her wounds. "I do not understand. What do you gain from this?" Dr. Lee Baum paused in her work. "We gain the knowledge that someone who needed help got it. In human culture, that's enough." Meanwhile, Admiral Code was receiving troubling reports from his sensor operators. The Krex fleet was approaching faster than expected and showed no signs of slowing down. "They'll be here in 6 hours," reported his tactical officer. 50 warships in standard attack formation. Code studied the enemy fleet composition. The Krex ships were larger than most human vessels, with heavy armor and energy weapons designed for conquest and intimidation. Against primitive species, with no military experience, they would be overwhelming. Against humans, they were about to be very surprised. "Signal all ships," Code ordered. "Battle stations. Deploy for combat, but do not target the Krex unless they fire first. We'll give them one chance to withdraw." Throughout the human fleet, crews prepared for battle. Captain Yunte positioned his fast attack squadron for hit-and-run strikes. Commander Na Young's marine assault ships took defensive positions around the rescue vessels. Every gun was loaded, every shield was charged, every fighter was ready to launch. But the most important preparation was happening in the minds of the human crews. They were no longer just following orders. They were protecting people they had come to care about. The Valorans were under human protection now, and that made them family. When the Krex fleet finally arrived, Fleet General Vorthak expected to find one damaged research vessel waiting for capture. Instead, his sensors showed an enormous formation of unknown warships arranged in perfect battle formation around his target. "What is this?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "Unknown ship types, Fleet General. Over 300 vessels. They appear to be protecting the Valoran ship." Vorthak's reptilian features twisted with anger. Someone was interfering with Krex business. This would not be tolerated. He opened a communication channel and broadcast on all frequencies. "Unknown vessels, this is Fleet General Vorthak of the Krex Dominion. You are interfering with lawful salvage operations. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." The response came from a ship that dwarfed even his flagship. "This is Admiral Code of the Human Defense Fleet. The beings you call salvage are peaceful researchers under our protection. You attacked innocent scientists. Withdraw immediately or we will consider you hostile." Vorthak laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Humans, I have never heard of your species. You face the might of the Krex Dominion. 50 warships that have conquered dozens of worlds. Surrender the Valoran specimens and we may allow you to live." There was a long pause. Then the human admiral's voice came back, calm and deadly. "General Vorthak, you have made 2 mistakes. First, you attacked innocent people. Second, you threatened us. We strongly advise you to leave now." Vorthak's anger exploded. These unknown primitives dared to threaten the Krex? He would teach them the price of defying his empire. "All ships," he commanded his fleet. "Open fire. Destroy them all." The Krex energy weapons lit up space with deadly light, targeting the human formation with the kind of firepower that had crushed dozens of species. They were about to learn that humans were not like other species. Admiral Code watched the enemy. Weapons fire streaked toward his fleet, then spoke into his communicator with quiet satisfaction. "All ships weapons free. Show them what Deathworlders do to bullies." The battle for the Valorans was about to begin. The first Krex plasma bolts hit human shields like lightning striking a mountain. The energy weapons that had destroyed dozens of civilizations met defensive systems built by a species that had learned warfare in the caves and jungles of a death world. Admiral Code watched his tactical display as the enemy fire struck his fleet. A few ships took damage, but nothing critical. Human engineering had learned to build things that could survive anything. "Damage report," he called. "Minor hits on 3 destroyers. Sir, no casualties, shields holding across the fleet." Code smiled grimly. The Krex had just shown their hand. Powerful weapons, but nothing humans couldn't handle. Now it was time to show them what real firepower looked like. "All ships, return fire. Target their command vessel first." What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Captain Yun Tai's fast attack squadron, Busan rising in the lead, struck first. The 12 ships moved like a school of predatory fish, weaving between Krex energy blasts with impossible grace. Human reflexes, evolved over millions of years of dodging Earth's deadly predators, made them nearly untouchable in space combat. "Target their shields," Yun Tai ordered his gunners. "Show them what kinetic weapons can do." The human mass drivers fired tungsten slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. While other species had focused on energy weapons, humans had perfected the art of throwing rocks. Very, very fast rocks. The metal projectiles punched through Krex shields like they were made of paper. Fleet General Vorthak felt his flagship shake as human weapons struck home. Alarms screamed across his bridge as systems failed one after another. "Impossible," he roared. "Our shields are military grade." His weapons officer looked up from his damaged console, fear clear in his reptilian eyes. "General, their projectile weapons are unlike anything we've encountered. The impact velocity is enormous." On Soul's vengeance, Code coordinated the human attack with the precision of a master conductor. His ships moved in perfect formation, each vessel supporting the others in a dance of destruction that no single species should have been able to perform. But humans were pack hunters by evolution. They had learned to coordinate attacks against creatures much larger and more dangerous than themselves. Space warfare was just hunting on a larger scale. "Commander Na Young, deploy your fighters," Code ordered. "Yes, sir. All squadrons, launch." Hundreds of human fighter craft poured out of the carrier ships like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Each pilot had trained for years in atmospheric combat on Earth, learning to maneuver in 3 dimensions while avoiding obstacles and enemy fire. In space, with no gravity or atmosphere to limit them, they were absolutely deadly. The fighters swarmed the Krex capital ships in coordinated attack patterns. They moved too fast for the large energy weapons to track, striking at engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Vorthak watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically torn apart. These humans fought like nothing the Krex had ever encountered. They didn't just attack. They coordinated every move, anticipated every counterattack, and supported each other with instinctive teamwork. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "I don't know, General. Their coordination is perfect. It's like they're all part of one mind." What the Krex couldn't understand was that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history working together to survive. From the earliest hunting parties to modern military units, cooperation was built into human DNA. On the human side, the battle was proceeding exactly as planned. Code's strategy was simple: demonstrate overwhelming superiority, then offer the enemy one last chance to surrender. But first, they had to make sure the lesson was clear. "Focus fire on their lead ships," he ordered. "I want their command structure disabled, not destroyed. We're not murderers." Human weapons struck with devastating accuracy. Krex warships found their engines offline, their weapon systems damaged, their communications arrays destroyed. Ship after ship went dark as human kinetic rounds and plasma beams found their targets. Captain Thylin watched the battle from the bridge of Soul's Vengeance, her large eyes wide with amazement. Dr. Lee Baum stood beside her, explaining what they were seeing. "Your people fight like a single organism," Thylin said quietly. "How is this possible?" "We evolved as cooperative hunters," Dr. Lee Baum explained. "On Earth, the creatures that survived were the ones that worked together. Competition between humans made us stronger, but cooperation made us unstoppable. The battle turned into a rout. Krex ships tried to retreat, but human vessels pursued them with relentless efficiency. Every escape route was blocked. Every tactical maneuver was anticipated and countered. Within 2 hours of the first shot, the Krex fleet was completely disabled. 50 warships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries floated helplessly in space, their weapons offline and their crews in shock. Code opened a communication channel to the Krex flagship. "Fleet General Vorthak, your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and we will allow you to evacuate your crews to lifeboats." Vorthak's voice came back filled with rage and disbelief. "This is impossible. The Krex Dominion has never been defeated. We are the strongest military force in the galaxy." "You were," Code replied calmly. "You attacked peaceful scientists. You threatened innocent people under our protection. This is the result. Surrender now, or we will be forced to take more aggressive action." What are you?" Vorthak asked, his arrogance finally cracking. Code thought about the question. How do you explain millions of years of evolution on a world where everything tried to kill you? How do you describe a species that had learned to cooperate by fighting together against impossible odds? "We're humans," he said simply. "We come from a world called Earth, and we don't abandon people who need help." The remaining Krex ships began launching escape pods. Their crews had seen enough. These humans had destroyed their fleet without even losing a single ship. Whatever these Deathworlders were, the Krex wanted no part of fighting them. As the last Krex lifeboats fled into hyperspace, Code turned to Captain Thylin. "Your people are safe now. The Krex won't be bothering anyone for a long time." Thylin looked at the tactical display, which still showed the wreckage of 50 warships floating in space. "You did this for us? For people you had never met?" Of course, Code replied. You sent a distress signal, we heard it. What else would we do? What the humans didn't know was that news of their victory was already spreading across the galaxy. Automated communication relays carried the impossible story to every corner of known space. An unknown species calling themselves humans had completely destroyed a Krex battle fleet in a matter of hours. The message was simple, but its implications were staggering. The Krex Dominion, which had terrorized dozens of worlds, had been defeated by newcomers who claimed they were just answering a call for help. Every peaceful species in the galaxy would soon be asking the same question. Who were these humans? And how quickly could they get in contact with them? The bullies of the galaxy, meanwhile, were asking a very different question. How quickly could they get away from these terrifying Deathworlders? But for now, Admiral Code had only one concern: making sure the Valorans got home safely. Everything else could wait. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the battle that destroyed the Krex fleet, the galaxy was buzzing with activity. News of humanity's victory had spread faster than hyperspace travel itself, carried by merchant ships, communication relays, and survivors' testimonies, to every civilized world. On Earth, President Park High sat in her office reading reports that seemed like science fiction. Dozens of alien species were requesting contact with humanity. The Galactic Council, a loose organization of peaceful civilizations, had sent an urgent invitation for Earth to join their assembly. It's incredible, she said to Admiral Cody, who had returned to brief her personally. 6 months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're apparently the galaxy's new protectors. Cody nodded, looking tired but satisfied. The Valorans have been excellent ambassadors for us. Captain Thylan has been telling everyone who will listen about how humans responded to their distress call. What Code didn't mention was how the story had grown in the telling. The tale of 300 human ships arriving to save 12 dying scientists had become legend. Some versions claimed the humans had destroyed the entire Krex Empire in a single battle. Others said that human ships were invincible and humans never lost wars. The truth was impressive enough, but legends had power of their own. In the Thylorian star system, an aquatic species that had been enslaved by the Krex for 20 years was celebrating their freedom. When news of the Krex defeat reached them, the remaining Krex garrison had fled overnight, abandoning their slave camps and mining operations. Ambassador Li Ho, humanity's first interstellar diplomat, was meeting with Thylorian leaders to discuss formal relations. The fish-like beings could barely contain their gratitude. Your people freed us without even knowing we existed, said Prime Current Felshaw, speaking through a water-filled communication device. How do we repay such a debt? You don't, Li Ho replied. You were enslaved. Now you're free. That's payment enough for any human. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of Krex raids were forming. Alliances with Earth. Trade agreements were being negotiated. Scientific exchange programs were being planned, but not everyone was happy with humanity's emergence. In the hegemony of Talox, War Prime Kethvar studied intelligence reports with growing alarm. His species had built their empire by conquering weaker civilizations much like the Krex had done. The humans represented a direct threat to everything the Talox believed in. 50 Krex warships destroyed in 2 hours, he read aloud to his council. No human casualties reported. Their weapons technology appears to be based on kinetic projectiles fired at relativistic speeds. Surely the reports are exaggerated, suggested one of his advisors. Kethvar shook his head. I have confirmation from 3 different sources. These humans are either incredibly lucky or incredibly dangerous. I suspect the latter. The Talox military machine began preparing for war. If these humans thought they could upset the galactic balance of power, they would learn otherwise. The Talox had conquered 47 star systems. They would not be intimidated by newcomers. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Kim Sol was making breakthrough discoveries in xenobiology. Working with Valoran scientists, she had developed medical treatments that worked across species lines. Her research was being shared freely with every civilization that requested it. The differences between species are smaller than we thought, she explained to a conference of human and alien doctors. Basic biology follows similar patterns throughout the galaxy. We can heal each other's injuries, cure each other's diseases, and learn from each other's experiences. This cooperation was extending to other fields as well. Human engineers were learning advanced shield technologies from the Xentar hive mind. Valoran physicists were sharing their quantum research with human scientists. The Makari tree people were teaching human botanists about sustainable ecology. But the most important development was happening in space itself. Admiral Kode had established permanent patrol routes throughout the local sector, ensuring that no research vessels traveled alone and no peaceful species lived in fear of raiders. Commander Na Young led these patrols, her Marines ready to respond to any distress calls. Her ships had already rescued 3 different alien crews from various dangers: equipment failures, natural disasters, and one more pirate attack that ended very badly for the pirates. Captain Yun Tae commanded the rapid response squadrons that could reach any point in human-protected space within hours. His crews had become legends among peaceful species, the humans who arrived whenever someone called for help. The psychological effect was enormous. For the first time in galactic history, weak species didn't have to live in fear. They knew that somewhere out there humans were listening for distress calls and ready to respond with overwhelming force. This knowledge was changing how the galaxy worked. Aggressive species were becoming more careful about their targets. Peaceful species were becoming more confident about exploring and expanding. Trade was increasing as pirates and raiders found their business increasingly hazardous. Captain Thylan had become Earth's first alien ambassador, working with human diplomats to establish formal relations between species. She spent her time traveling between worlds, telling the story of how humans had saved her crew and destroyed an entire Krex fleet to protect strangers. They didn't ask what we could give them, she would say in her speeches. They didn't demand payment or concessions. They simply heard that someone needed help and they came. That is the kind of species humans are. But challenges remained. The Talox were massing fleets near human space, clearly preparing for some kind of confrontation. Other aggressive species were forming alliances, disturbed by humanity's protection of their former victims. President Park High knew that larger conflicts were coming, but she also knew her people were ready for them. We didn't ask to become the galaxy's protectors, she said during a cabinet meeting, but we answered one distress call and everything changed. Now we have a choice. We can retreat back to Earth and let the bullies return. Or we can accept our role and do what humans have always done: protect those who can't protect themselves. The decision was unanimous. Human shipyards were working at maximum capacity, building new vessels and training new crews. The fleet that had saved the Velerans was now just the beginning of humanity's space force. More importantly, humanity had gained something even more valuable than ships and weapons. They had gained friends. Dozens of species now considered Earth their ally, and that alliance was growing stronger every day. As Admiral Kode stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching human and alien ships working together in Earth orbit, he reflected on how much had changed. One small distress signal had introduced humanity to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Valorans had called for help in their darkest hour. Humanity had answered as they always did, and in doing so they had announced to every corner of space that the age of bullies preying on the innocent was ending. The humans were here now, and they would make sure everyone got home safe, no matter what it cost them. That was just who humans were. And the galaxy was beginning to understand that this was both wonderful and terrifying, depending on which side of humanity's protection you found yourself on. The age of human guardianship had begun,